Hello, this is Glenn from Lights On Multimedia Mind Arts, and today we are going to learn how to make triangular tessellations that look something like this. This is an example of a triangular tessellation, and they are more challenging to make than the others, simply because there's more precision that's needed to get the pieces to fit together correctly. Okay, here we are at the beginning of a nice blank canvas here. It would be a very helpful thing to have your transform tool palette floating out here. To get to that, you go to View, Studio, and it's down there, Transform. And to begin with, I am simply going to make a long, we're going to use the pen tool, and there's my line mode. And now I'm going to draw a line, something like this. And it's maybe just for our purposes, let's make it a dotted line. Dotted lines, we don't get an often enough chance to use those. Okay, like that. And maybe make this a little wider. Okay, zooming in, we've got a dotted line. And that's just a center line. We want to put it in the center of our page, so we're going to put it here and here. It's not really useful to turn the grid on for this. It's just the way the grids line up don't seem to line up with the center without a bunch of extra fiddling. So we want to make an equilateral triangle, and an equilateral triangle is a triangle with the sides all the same. If I take my triangle tool and I go like this, and drag that out, at this point we don't want dotted lines anymore. That's not equilateral. The distance between here and here is shorter than the distance between here and here. And you can, you can fiddle with this, and you could try to get it the same, but because we're kind of experimental geometrists, let's just build it from what we know, from our knowledge. So I'm going to take this pen tool and I'm going to draw a line out like this, and it's 1 point, and I'll just make sure it's selected, and I want to go up to here to the width, and I want to make that 400. Okay, that's going to be the base, and that needs to be the width of the sides as well. So I'm going to click on my I already have it clicked on the Move tool, and I want to make sure this button here is depressed. Click on that, Enabled Transform Origin. So I'm going to make, I'm going to label this center so that I don't forget that. All right, back over here. I'm going to move this. Actually, I'm going to duplicate it first. Command J. Well, you'll be able to see that at the bottom of the screen. I'm not going to say the keystrokes. I mean, I might just do it out of habit, but so I've moved that center down there, but the keystrokes are going to be recorded on the screen, so I don't have to do that anymore. So now I'm going to rotate this. How many degrees? Well, what looks right. You have to kind of go, use your eye. Does that look right? So it looks like it's getting close. And then I'll look up on my transform. Well, it's not going to be 55.6 degrees. It's going to be some even number. And I know that because I've done this before, I know it's 60 degrees. So we've got that. So these two lines here should meet pretty well. It's a good idea to zoom in and out a lot. I use a mouse with a wheel on it. And the mouse with the wheel on it, you're going to be doing that a lot. Now I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to duplicate it. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it around using this flipping tool. And then I'm going to move this to the right until these 2 points, intersects those 2 points, creating a vertex All right. I'm going to zoom in on this a lot. The more precise you can make, oh, doesn't that look good? The more precise you can make this, the better off, the fewer problems you're going to have. All right. So this is not in the center. So I'm going to combine these threes. Actually, I'm going to label these. This is going to be the base. And these are guidelines. These are going to disappear at some point. And click on this one. This is going to be the right. And it's a good idea to learn to abbreviate. As things get more and more complicated, as you attempt more and more complex designs and other artwork, you don't want to be spelling out things, typing out long things. So L and R are pretty typical abbreviations. And I'm going to take the base. That is not how you spell base. That's how you spell base. Yeah. And I'm going to group those, and then I'm going to center that group, and hopefully it lines up with our center line. Yep. So now we're going to begin to use, these are all guidelines. Go back to our pen tool, and now we want to switch to the curve mode, pen mode, and then as we get close to the tips of these corners here, we want to not be too exaggerated. Otherwise it causes, it's not, once you get more adventurous and kind of know what you're doing, it's not that much of an issue. But initially, until you got some practice and confidence, I would say stay pretty, keep it close and then swoop out. And then we don't want to get too chicken though. We want to have an interesting design that goes out. And this is going to be that plus side you're adding here. And if you've seen my previous tutorials, you know what I mean by that. And actually, I'm going to pull that in because I don't want that. This is going to be, we're going to be a little bit of a chicken down here, and then we're going to click there. And I don't want to have that dent in like that. And I'm going to move that out like this. Now the problem is here, see, I have not, this is kind of the inaccuracy that will cause problems later. So I'm going to take this all the way down to here. And it might be, I haven't tried this with less than a pixel. It might be helpful, but I think we're fine. All right, so we have our line. We could adjust this if we want. Kind of make it, give it a style, whatever your style is. And now I'm going to call this left. That's our true left side. And I'm going to go back to my move tool, and I'm going to take my move center thing. I'm going to move it to the top. I want to make sure it's really at the top. Yeah, that looks like it's at the top to me. All right, and now I'm going to duplicate that. And then I'm going to relabel this R for right side. And I'm going to rotate this all the way this way. And we've got our 60 degrees again, so we know that. We have some confidence that that should be correct. And if I zoom in here, that looks pretty good. A little bit off. I don't think I'm going to mess with that to try to correct it, because we want it to be symmetrical. If it is a tiny bit off, there are procedures that we can do that will fix that. Now I'm going to turn my center line back on. Now you might think that, oh, well, I get it. Yeah, I know how this works. You just rotate this again to put it to the side. But is that going to be, would you be adding? Would you be taking away? So our line of symmetry is here. This is what kind of makes the triangle so interesting, is it's not like, well, how does this work? And this is why it's so fun to experiment. So the line of symmetry really is we have to do a design, a positive on this side, and then flip it around negative on this side, or the other way around. It doesn't make a difference which way you want to go. But let's do it this way. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to click right there, and I'm going to begin to make my little wave curvilinear thing, and then I'm going to go right here to the center as close as I can and finish it right there. Go to my move tool, relocate the point of rotation to that exact same spot. It sort of pops right in. And now I'm going to so this is, I'm going to call this L base, being the base on the left-hand side. Now I'm going to duplicate that, and this is going to be R base on the right-hand side. And using this rotation knob thing, I come in here, and this should be about right. So I'm going to deselect this and look in here. I'm actually going to turn off my center line. And yep, I think that looks pretty good. All right, so we don't need our triangle anymore. This can be disappeared or deleted. I'm just going to put this in a category called hide me, just in case we want to refer to it at some point later. But this is what we're interested in, these pieces up here. Now we have to make these all fit together. We can't fill this in yet because there's no way to do that. So we have to join them. And to join them, let's start with this guy down, these two base pieces right here. So I've selected this side, and I'm going to hold down the shift key. You have to hold down the shift key. I had to experiment because I forgot. And I look at the top here, and there are two buttons that matter: close curve and join curve. So if I back out, you can see these both sides have been selected. If I hit this, it's going to be a disaster. That's not right. Okay. All right. So, but there is a right one. So don't use the first one. Use the second one, join. And now this becomes, if you look over here, this is now just the base. So I can relabel this. So now I want to join the base to either the left or right-hand side. This is already selected, so I hold the shift key and I click on the left-hand side. And I know better than to click that one. I click on the join curves. And now, oh my goodness, we only have one of those left. And now if we click on, what if we do it over here? Yeah, we don't even have to do it. We can do it right in our layers area. And now I'm going to click on. All right, so now, friends, we have let's just make sure that it really is. Will it hold a color? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. All right, and I think we'll just set it over there, that color right now. Now, we're not quite, and I know if you've seen the previous videos, you kind of know how to continue from here, but let's just go through some of this for the people who haven't. I want to create it. This is now my shape that's going to repeat, and I'm going to retitle this, rename. I'm just going to call it shape. Not terribly original. So now how is this thing going to tessellate? Zoom out a little bit. Actually, we could zoom all the way out. So I'm going to deselect that. It's important because this is the part where we would check to make sure it actually does tessellate. So you see this little hook here, and you realize, oh, that's going to go inside of there. So I'm going to rotate this with the shift key down. Is it going to be a 45-degree angle? No, that's not enough. How many people think it's going to be 60? Raise your hand. Sorry, I'm a teacher. Used to be a teacher. Okay, so we're going to move this in. And how's that looking? I would say it looks pretty good. Now let's, if we push Command J and we make another one, let's see if we rotate that. Oops, my center point's not at the tip. So let's zoom in. It'd be worth it. Just put this over here, because you don't want to spend a whole lot of time. Now looking at this isn't like 100%. I'm going to zoom way in. See how that's not quite matched up there? So I'm going to go to this triangle shape here. And since we've made it a shape, let's see if we can move this. That's not, we want this shape. We want this. We'll worry about the rotation point in a moment. I want to see if I can't just get this perfect. Oh, there it is. Can you see that? That's what you want. All right, then we can go back to this. Now we can relocate our point of rotation to right there. That should make, and then since it's a symbol, it should make the correction on that piece on all the other pieces. All right, let's drop another one in. And obviously this is the little hook thing that's going to go there. And that should be 60 degrees too. You see your 60 up here. Move in. And, well, all right. That looks good to me. Let's duplicate that. I keep forgetting to move the point of rotation. This is actually a little easier to get the rotating thing going on than one of the previous rotations that I demonstrated. And then, okay, now we've got it where we'll simply continue like this. Now we have a cluster. It looks like a piece of, like a cookie, a Christmas cookie. So I'm going to group this, and then I am going to do a duplicate. And then from here, it's actually pretty easy because these things begin to fit together pretty well. Like that. And then duplicate again. This is where it kind of gets fun. All right, now we're going to have to drag another one of these. No, we don't want to do that. We want to go just duplicate this one and then pull it down. Like that. And duplicate again. Does that look good? Yeah, that looks good. Just leave it right where it was. No, actually, it should go up here. It pays to be particular. And then I'm going to pull this one off and let it go into here. Like so. And another one. Like so. And another one. Like so. And I will finish this design and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, if you've been following along, hopefully you're at the same point, and you can see how the triangles tessellate even though the sides are curvilinear and they make interesting patterns, but now we want to, this is kind of boring, we want to put something else. So you can make sure that you're on the Move tool, and you can click on any of these, double click, and you can see over here on this side it begins to open things up. Double click again, double click again. So once you get to the point where you're seeing all these little points of contact, you can go over to your layers list, double click on that, and it will zoom in. So anything inside this white dotted area is fair game for adding. You can add shapes, you can do colors. I almost always do some kind of a gradient or a fill rather. And then you can kind of zoom out and see how it affects everything. It's a little real-time animation as you can click on the different parts and shift the values. The luminance, which I refer to as values. You can shift the hue. If this is going to be wallpaper on your computer, you have to be able to see documents and folders that you have on your desktop. So keep that in mind. Anything too contrasty is going to be going to make it hard for you to see. With your outlines, you could even work on those. If we go to our move tool, you can play with that. I kind of like the idea of doing the dashes simply because it reminds me of like a textile. I guess I'm more of a textile, but that doesn't have to be black, right? You could go through and you could change that. Get it. And so this is where you train your eye. It's really important for you as an artist to look carefully at contrast, look carefully at colors. You know, what is the effect as you shift this around? And this is like the perfect art lab where you can experiment. And you can play with this to your heart's content. And you can even zoom out and play with it, just like this. And let's say I want to change the colors of this part of it. And decrease the value, the lightness. Anyway, have yourself some fun with this. I thank you for coming and watching this lesson, and look forward to I have other art lessons, mostly around Affinity Designer, but some of them around other things. So I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.